And now for our feature presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Botching It Up podcast. Every bruise, bump, and botch. Wrestling, you've been put on notice. Let's get ready to ramble!
What's up? This is the Botching Up podcast, number 22, and this week we're talking about WWE's Draft 2020 and all the happenings on. As always, you're with me, Benito, and my good friend Basil.
Hey Ben, I haven't got a witty catchphrase for you this week. I'm a bit exhausted by what we've watched.
That's really upsetting. I always get so excited about what you're going to come up with.
Well, no, I think we should just get straight into it. So I do have a form of quote for you from AJ Styles, which was on the Raw Talk that I actually bothered to watch for you. I'm the pre-show guy, the occasional Raw Talk guy. And he was just basically doing a roundtable with R-Truth and Charlie Caruso. And Charlie Caruso asked him what his reaction was to being drafted to Raw. I directly quote from him. I mean, is it really that much different? You know, SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown. It's really not that different. It's still the WWE.
They don't even fucking care themselves.
This was directly after they submitted us to 2 shows about their draft, which Stephanie McMahon had earlier said was incredibly important and full of twists and turns. AJ doesn't care. It's just a different day at work.
Well, it's not even important. We had an intergender battle royale on Raw. We're coming up to Survivor Series where we're going to have the 2 go against each other. And then it's like Braun Strowman versus someone else on SmackDown, even though he's on Raw now. So the guys are still crossed all the brands.
I really do think the final insult was that your main event was an inter-brand battle royal.
For a contender
on your second of 2 draft shows, you had an inter-brand battle royal for the Raw Women's Championship.
And it was for the contendership of the Raw Championship. So if a SmackDown woman won it, what the fuck's the draft for, really?
Well, there we go. I don't think that we have to go any further with this podcast. AJ Styles has summed it up nicely for us with one example from Raw's main event.
There we go. 3 minutes, done. That's the quickest one. So we're going to go play-by-play through both shows, yeah?
Yes. WWE SmackDown, the 9th of October 2020, was that fabled night where we had the first draft. I assume in a year? Was it last year they had the last draft? I would assume so.
Yeah. And Michael Cole opens up the show saying, "Welcome back to the visually impressive WWE Thunderdome."
Yeah, I got the same thing. Visually pleasing.
Yeah. It's not.
You also have actual thunder being implemented now.
Yeah, but it's
because everything needs to be literal.
Everything is literal with them. It's not impressive or interesting at all. It's an eyesore.
It's a visually pleasing interactive arena built for you, Ben.
Is it? Well, they can unbuild it for me.
I'm surprised you haven't bothered to go on camera yet and watch along live.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sure.
So Stephanie McMahon came out and got a pretty loud and sustained pop from absolutely no one.
Oh, yeah. She got, like, cheered. If this was real, she would have been booed, not cheered.
She got, like, a Steve Austin cheer.
Huge.
It rose and rose and just kept getting bigger. I love the egos.
So let's go through these first picks. The very first pick of the draft is Drew McIntyre for Raw.
From Raw to Raw.
Yeah. Roman Reigns from SmackDown to SmackDown. Oscar from Raw to Raw. Seth Rollins from Raw to SmackDown, so that's the first move, and then the Hurt Business to stay on Raw.
Okay. So this round passes with one change, which is Rollins, who could have added some fresh matches, but I'm sure as you agree, as we'll see later on, this didn't really feel like a draft. It felt like moving Raw en masse to SmackDown and SmackDown en masse to Raw. To me, the whole point of a draft is to change up the people appearing on each show so that they have new opponents. Yep. But it seemed like the entire SmackDown roster pretty much went to Raw, and the entire Raw roster went to SmackDown.
Yeah, Seth Rollins' whole story of Rey Mysterio's just followed him over, and then
Murphy was in the supplemental draft on the SmackDown talk show.
And then
later
and
on.
then who was it on Raw? Yeah, the same things happened the other way. It was Braun and whoever he's feuding with have both gone to Raw, so they can continue their feud.
But I mean, Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, we'll get into it in a minute, but it seems like everybody that is currently feuding with each other and have been since before I stopped watching, which was like SummerSlam, is just coming along with each other and meeting each other so that they can carry on.
So what do you think about the actual top picks? In kayfabe, the most sought after guys and girl is Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Oscar, Seth Rollins, and the Hurt Business. Would you agree?
I don't understand really why they waited for Bayley to be on the Raw show to be picked. So if we're kayfabe actually thinking about this, how did they go about it? Who picked who to be revealed on SmackDown and who picked who to be revealed on Raw?
Stephanie.
I know Raw is also the bigger show, so Stephanie decided that Raw came first and Raw got more picks.
Well, there's no general managers, so nobody decided, but Stephanie is the one telling us everything.
So it was like those bingo balls.
Maybe. I mean, I think it would have been more interesting if we saw bingo balls rather than watching Stephanie just say names for 5 hours.
Well, see, last year they had a really, I'm sure you remember it, they had a really cheesy backstage segments of the USA office and the Fox office.
Yeah, with the Fox robot.
There's like a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were like on the phone and talking like Wall Street and demanding to get this or that, and they were arguing with each other. And it was awful, sure. But it was more effort than we got tonight. It was... Last year, they actually pretended that USA or Fox either had any say in this or actually cared.
Well, they did keep saying, Michael Cole did keep saying that Fox and USA have consulted with WWE about who they want on their TV shows. So...
Okay, but surely that Fox is a much bigger entity than USA Network. Surely Fox would say, you get more people because you're a longer show. But if you get first pick on SmackDown, we get first pick on Raw. Surely that makes sense, at the very least.
Yeah, that does make sense. But who says it is really first pick and they haven't just written down on paper exactly? I suppose that's tearing away all the kayfabe of this stupid system anyway. Never mind. But anyway, on paper, Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns are the most important people in the company.
Makes sense. 2 champions.
Why wasn't Brock Lesnar in this
Do you not think so?
Where was Brock Lesnar?
Brock Lesnar's done. His contract's expired.
People seem to think he's coming back, though, but
I think
officially.
Brock Lesnar is like the women's tag team championships. He just goes wherever he wants.
All right, so let's just move on to this Falls Count Anywhere, Big E versus Sheamus.
Just a quick shout out to Seth Rollins saying that the Mysterios have disgusting faces as well in his promo. Is there anything I picked up from that?
How does he even know what Rey Mysterio looks like?
He's seen his eyeball, so I assume his eyeball's disgusting.
Yeah, well... All eyeballs are disgusting when you pull them out of your face.
Maybe he wasn't vomiting from the eyeball. Maybe he was vomiting from seeing a bit of Ray's face. Maybe Rey Mysterio's new gimmick is being 2003 Kane.
What a great way to retire. What a great way to send a legend out. Anyway, so the Falls Count Anywhere match. Big E versus Sheamus.
Is this one of
this just felt like a bit...
Is this one of the first times you've seen Big E solo since he split up from the New Day in a singles?
Maybe, yeah.
Because this was a different... I watched his payback match against Sheamus, and this was a different Big E. His facials were way more serious. The focus seemed like more intense. Big E looks like he's coming together with himself as a solo star in the last 2 months. So I see good things for him. I think based upon this performance, I'm pretty sure Vince McMahon's into him, and I can see him getting the belt off Sami Zayn within the next month or 2.
Well, he's definitely planning to go solo, isn't he? He must have obviously known that they were going to split up.
I'm not actually sure that he was aware of them splitting up. I really don't think he was. Based upon, we get into it in a minute. But based upon his behavior on the SmackDown post show, it didn't really feel like he had been clued in.
Well, this match seemed like a massive fuck you to the Best Friends and Proud and Powerful's 5-star street fight, don't you think?
Yeah,
like they were throwing everything at the wall, using weapons inventively, which WWE hardly ever do. And also the NXT car lot brawl that happened. And here they went through windscreens, they used the bonnet, they jumped off the cars. It was great stuff.
Yeah, I enjoyed this match, and I do kind of agree that they're looking at what's working in other promotions right now and sort of utilizing it in their own way. Because you put up a Throwback Thursday YouTube video today, and I listened to that because I had to put up a clip for Instagram. And we were talking about the Intercontinental Championship tournament, where they'd already started a tournament the week before on AEW, and it still feels like there's a lot of that stuff going on. We go from what AEW are doing, and then 2 weeks later we find out what WWE are doing. This was at points really silly. Like, I just thought to myself that somebody actually had to go to the WWE warehouse to find those giant bootios and put them under a ring. And I mean, there was no utilization of them. But the match starts off fast and hard. There's some good shots. Both guys looked into it. Both guys were being pretty brutal with each other. At one point, Sheamus had horrible bloody welts all over his back. And I don't know who got cut, but there was a lot of blood on both of the guys towards the end of the match.
Well, there's the spot where Big E does the crucifix in the ropes, tied up in the ropes, and Sheamus is just going crazy at him with the kendo stick. And I was actually thinking, you did a few more shots on one brutally hard shot. That could definitely be a spot, the finishing spot of a match.
Yeah, I really do think that Dominic Mysterio was quite happy that he had Seth Rollins cane him, because Sheamus is notorious in the back for being very, very hard going to work with.
Yeah, they were big shots, very loud.
What did you think of their catering area?
It wasn't a catering area, it was a table with eggs on it.
Well, we were told there was a catering area. It was in the middle of a hallway, I think.
They're camping at this arena for what, months and months and months? No way is their catering area just a table with some eggs and flour on it.
Well, I assume maybe that they were having a make-your-own omelette day or something. Because there was no crisps, there was no fruit, there was no sandwiches. So I guess it's sort of, we provide you with the raw materials and you go out into the world and make what you can.
Make your own damn pancakes.
Which is very fitting, I think, for the WWE product at the moment. We'll give you the very basic raw materials and you make with it what you want.
You make your own fun. Start a podcast and just laugh at it.
Yeah, or try and sell the lines that we script for you, which are dire. Sheamus hit Big E really hard with a tire iron in this match.
Sheamus was going most of this match. So was Big E, really.
I haven't seen a tire iron, I don't think, since the mid 2000s, and it was just thrown off within a minute. It was just, oh yeah, he used a tire iron really hard. It's fine. Big E's back up, holding himself from getting kidnapped in a trunk. I don't know. It was highly enjoyable with some brutal looking moves, and I thought they put over Big E pretty strong in this match. So it looks like there's good things coming for Big E. Sheamus is looking a little bit adrift at the moment.
Yeah, so Big E wins with his finishing move off a car through a table, which just doesn't work at all because Big E's finishing move means he has to land first. So he really just put himself through a table.
After putting himself through two windshields.
Yeah. His finishing, he needs a different finisher for tables and concrete and whatever. But anyway, so after this match, Kofi congratulates Big E on the win, and then Xavier returns. It was actually a nice little moment for any New Day fans.
I feel like these are the most over guys in the company right now, to be honest. Xavier and Kofi have both been out. Kofi's been out for a good couple of months now. And I was right at my TV, and I think everybody else was as well. It was so nice to see Xavier and the three of them together. Because I don't feel like I've seen Xavier Woods when he's not playing Dungeons and Dragons for about 2 years.
Yeah, I know, right? It felt like for the longest time, even if he was on TV, he was always just at ringside.
And he came back hot. And what else can you ask for? Obviously, if there was a crowd, they wouldn't have done a backstage skit with them. But as it was, I thought it was pretty well put together. I'm glad to see them back, even if they are splitting up from Big E. I don't have a problem with the New Day splitting up as much as how they did it.
Well, you have a problem with how they did it.
Yeah.
In the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've discussed this so many times about their split up, and that one of them should have turned on the other.
Well, I assume that they've split them up, but they don't want them turning against each other because they want to save that for a later date. they just want to keep Big E on his own and work him out as a project for now, and then I assume they will turn them in a while, maybe when Big E's going for the main gold or whatever, or when he's IC champ. But the idea of the New Day splitting up, for me, was more just a complete lack of logic. Like, if you're sitting here making me pretend that this is a real draft with real things, well, the first thing that you showed me on this show was Raw taking the entirety of the Hurt Business, which is 4 guys.
Yeah.
They only take 2 out of the 3 of the New Day.
Yeah, you would just take all, wouldn't you? There's no way you. And if you did want to split them up, someone should have taken Big E first, and then the other brand takes the tag team. Not.
I mean, if you're USA Network and you really don't want Big E because you see no potential in the fact that he's up and coming and winning loads of matches, just take him anyway and job him. He's free. What sense did this make? This was a really sort of cowardly way of not wanting to split the New Day up, but get them away from each other.
I get it though, because like you said, they're so white hot right now. You don't really want to heel turn any of them right now. They're all the 3 biggest baby faces of the company, really.
Yeah, but was there really a necessary reason to do it this way? Like, there's small things in these drafts. I know that I'm overthinking because they haven't thought this hard. But Big E, for example, gets drafted to Raw or SmackDown, whatever. As far as we're aware, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods are still out. They didn't have to be on this show. They could have still been injured. Nobody would have noticed. Nobody would have made any difference. They can then come in 2 or 3 weeks later when the draft is already over with, and somehow or some way USA Network gets a coup and gets the two-thirds of the New Day. You know, like, you could have easily just little things explaining away logic to make it feel like there's a sustained sense of story here.
Well, like you said, even logic, if they had just done it the other way around, where Big E got drafted first and then the tag team got drafted, that would have made more sense anyway.
It would have made a tiny bit more sense than what we got here. Yeah. Just
Do you reckon in the Survivor Series match they're going to be on opposite sides? Like, they'll all be in the match?
Oh, I'm sure that they'll play this up now. They'll play this up like when the Shield broke up but didn't break up. They'll be seeing each other once a month somehow, some way.
I hope eventually we do get like a New Day Civil War one day. It'll be completely wasted if they don't.
I really do think we will. I think they try. So my understanding of this, and we've been talking about this for months now, I'm pretty sure they gave Kofi the championship belt to eventually split the New Day up, maybe pit Big E against Kofi or whatever for the championship and have a feud there. But for some reason or another, they thought Kofi's championship run was a bit of a lame duck, so they didn't bother to turn it then. Now they have faith in Big E, but they don't think he's gotten to a place yet where he could be a main eventer. So I think what they're doing at the moment is building Big E up to become that level, that main event talent, and then they're going to turn the New Day again. But this is still really long-term booking, which they're not good at. For all extents and purposes, they are now on different brands. So you're not going to be seeing this, if you do see it, for like still another year or two.
Well, you say that, but the brand split will be dead in a couple of weeks, and they'll be jumping about all over the place.
I realised that we're jumping all over the show now, but I realised that this draft had been put together within 2 weeks when they told me that Mandy Rose had been drafted to Raw. Because I know you haven't been keeping up with the WWE product, but Mandy Rose was drafted to Raw 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Okay.
So if they were aware that they were doing a draft in 3 weeks, then they wouldn't have drafted Mandy Rose 3 weeks before. So this is obviously a spur of the moment thing, and I was trying to figure out why. I assume there's
a ratings boost. No, it's just a boost.
So I
rating.
assume there's basketball or American football on at the same time. But what I find hilarious is how they're hyping up both the USA Network and Fox Network next week for the season premiere of WWE Raw and WWE SmackDown. Ben, how do you have a season premiere for a show that doesn't stop?
Yeah, it's a weird one, that, isn't it?
So I assume the networks have actually asked WWE to hype this up in some way, but they've carried on throughout the pandemic and carried on through every single show since the both brands respectively started. So it's not really a season premiere in the middle of October for us, is it?
No, but I guess the draft is them trying to saying this is like a hard reset, and now it's a new season with completely new stories and new characters doing the exact same thing they've been doing for 2 years. Fuck
man. I actually liked SmackDown, so let's get on to some of the good stuff of SmackDown.
Yes. So Jey Uso comes out and he wants to know the stipulation he's going to have with Roman Reigns. This is actually a dynamite promo as well. He nails it out of the park. Then Paul Heyman comes on the Jumbotron. He gives his spiel, and then Roman Reigns challenges him to an I Quit match in a Hell in a Cell, which is quite interesting.
Great stuff. That Jey delivered a fiery babyface promo. This angle's already hot. I love this alpha beta tribal chief storyline. I think Paul Heyman has elevated Roman Reigns so much. And this heel Roman Reigns is what we have wanted to see. I think everybody has wanted to see for years now. Because
Roman is so much better as a heel. Like, we were all right. He's nailed it.
He looks absolutely amazing here. He looks Hollywood. You know what I mean? He looks like a hard as nails villain that's also really stylish and just cool. Like, I haven't seen Roman Reigns look cool for a very long time. And one thing I noticed from this promo is all three members of the Shield can't do face. Seth Rollins was one of the worst babyface champions I've ever seen. Moxley he doesn't have that likability that Austin had. And Roman Reigns as John Cena was awful. These guys all suit heel as opposed to babyface.
I mean, even their look when they came out in the Shield, they were like, I guess they were anti-hero, but they just look heels.
I like the fact that they got Roman Reigns they found like a posh suite for him, but I'm not sure why there was loads of naked Cupid statues behind him.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, there was lots of Greek naked babies in statue form.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that's his preferred decor in his private office.
Cool, fine, whatever. As long as he looks badass and he nailed what he was saying. Like, he's so much more believable as a heel when he talks than when he was a babyface.
Yeah. Just him icily staring into the camera and then saying there's going to be consequences after this match.
But what do you think about the actual match? An I Quit match inside Hell in a Cell?
I think it's a really interesting idea. I think this is the only, coming out of Raw and SmackDown, the only match on the Hell in a Cell show that sounds intriguing and sounds interesting. And there's a lot of stuff you could do with that, like the I Quit angle inside a cell. Depending how far they want to go with it, there's a lot they could do because the Clash of the Champions match was pretty brutal. I think they're going to go the whole hog with this one. I'm a bit worried for Jey Uso's safety, honestly.
No, I like the idea that they're definitely going to be able to use the cell as a weapon. I mean, I know they always do, but usually it's kind of just there. Whereas this, I think with the I Quit, we're going to see a lot of people like faces pushed up against the cell or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Daring each other to quit. No, I think it's going to be good. It's gonna really freshen up the gimmick. All right, so draft number 2. Here we go. AJ moves to. Do you want me just to say the whole thing, or do you want to go one by one?
Yeah.
Okay. AJ moves to Raw. Sasha Banks stays on SmackDown. Naomi moves to Raw. Bianca Belair moves to SmackDown. Baszler and Jax stay on Raw.
AJ Styles going back to Raw is not a big deal, considering AJ again was moved from Raw just over 2 months, maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, because he had beef with Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman kept mocking him because he thinks the world is flat.
So now Heyman's on SmackDown, he's going back to Raw.
Yeah, they're literally keeping them away from each other, which is hilarious. I don't know whether you've noticed, but in pretty much all of the promos or just chats when people, like wrestlers, are being interviewed or feel more comfortable, they all call him Uncle Alan. I think AJ's gotten a bit of a reputation in WWE for being like a weird old man at this point.
That's all right. He's only got a couple of years to go and he'll be retired.
And Bianca Belair moving to SmackDown obviously shows that those reports that Vince McMahon's really into her are true.
Yeah, but is she even on TV right now? Because we didn't see her over these couple of days.
She's more on TV than she used to be. She's slowly being repositioned into a normal mid-card talent.
Because I remember when she came up and they just didn't use her at all.
Yeah, they just threw her onto main event.
Okay. And then Baszler and Nia Jax are on Raw, but then Michael Cole says that doesn't matter because as tag team champions, they can be on either brand. So what a waste of a fucking pick.
Can we please get Shayna Baszler away from Nia Jax? Nia Jax is. If I walked into WWE tomorrow and they said, "Hey, you're the boss now. What do you want to do first?" I would say fire Nia Jax.
Well, okay.
I think she's just. I'm sorry. I don't see any talent. I don't see any ability, athleticism, likability. And Shayna Baszler is so good, and I don't understand why they're wasting her in a comedic tag team with one of the least liked female wrestlers in the company.
Well, on Raw, I think they teased that these two are going to split quite quickly.
They've been doing that since Payback, though.
Oh, right,
it's
okay.
Not going anywhere.
I guess they've just got nothing for Baszler to do, but they want to keep her in the limelight, so they've put a belt on her.
Do you know what I would do with Baszler? Put her in Lana's position. How about that?
I don't know, man. They need to do something with her, but she's wasted on the main roster.
It was a draft. There sure is lots of twists and turns.
They could have split those two up in the draft. That would have been more interesting. But then again, would it have fucking mattered because of the tag team, the women's tag team thing? Anyway,
the women's tag team can go to NXT if they want. They shouldn't even be drafted.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what Michael Cole was saying between the lines. Like, haha, stupid Raw, stupid pick. So the next match, we got Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy versus Miz and Morrison. It was a decent match, only went like 6 minutes. I mean, the big news is the attack afterwards.
Right. So, I mean, first of all, we always talk about WWE's booking getting lazier and lazier. This TV match was created from four separate tweets by these guys.
Okay.
Matt Riddle said to Jeff Hardy, "Oh, bro, I sure would like to work with you." And then Miz and Morrison were like, "You're a loser. Let's have a match." Yeah, this wasn't really anything. But as you said, Lars Sullivan comes out looking absolutely jacked and then proceeds to be called a freak no less than at least 18 times.
Getting it in there. Sure. He looks much better with a beard, don't you think? He looks normal now.
He was probably quite aware that he needed to do something with all the controversy of the past.
Have you heard the new controversy?
I've seen a little bit of it. Yeah. This guy just can't get stink away from him, can he? So
he's going to get a 3-week push and then he's going to be hidden backstage again, I think.
Well, he's a homophobic homosexual.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the new one is that he's now like stalking women on Instagram.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see what happens there, I guess.
It doesn't exactly make him likable as a face or a heel, really, does it? But
no.
I've also heard that he has major anxiety attacks and sometimes just doesn't want to go out to the ring.
Isn't that what happened with John Cena? Because he was meant to debut against John Cena, right?
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen.
So obviously Vince must see something massive in him.
Well, because he's huge and he's fucking built. So Vince loves that, doesn't he?
Yeah, but after all of this stuff, I think most people would have been immediately shown the door.
Yeah, true.
I think Vince has been looking for this sort of Goldberg character since Ryback, and way before Ryback, and he just wants one of these big guys to actually break out, do the work, and have some charisma.
Well, Brock's expensive now, aren't they? They need to create a new Brock.
Yeah. This was a decent surprise. I actually kind of figured Lars was done. Nice huge slams and stuff, and he murders The Miz, Matt Riddle, and Jeff Hardy. So they're obviously pushing him for a big run.
Yeah, I mean, other than what happened to New Day, this is really the only surprise from the draft. It was the only return, we saw nothing from NXT, so...
I wish I'd actually counted how many times they called him his new nickname. Stephanie also called him it, and all of the Raw presenters called him it. And you know that in the back, Vince is on the headset. He's a freak! He's a freak! God damn it! I'm getting really excited. I'm fine with Lars being on every show if they stop calling him that, because it's just ad nauseum at this point.
Oh, they're definitely not. It's there to stay.
Yeah,
for sure.
And then we get another round of drafts. Ben, are you excited?
Super excited to see Stephanie again. like I don't actually have anything wrong with a GM character. I don't know why people hated it so much. And definitely for this, it would have been much better if they had GMs.
I think it's because it went out of control, where they tried to restart the corporation with Stephanie and Triple H, and they sort of tried to rehash the Austin McMahon thing, but nobody cared because there wasn't an Austin to go against them.
Yeah.
So they just ditched it after a while. But I mean, it's quite clear that it works. William Regal does a great job on NXT. He's just the right type of general manager who keeps things in line, has a little bit of character, but doesn't get involved too much. That's all they need.
Yeah, he's just a plot device. He just moves stories forward sometimes, and that, yeah, like you said, that's what they need. And if they had two GMs bantering off each other in between all these draft picks, that would have made this much more interesting, much more entertaining.
I feel like they're just scared off from it because they made such a big deal about GMs over the years, like John Laurinaitis and stuff. So they don't want to go too fast. They just don't do anything at all, which is typical WWE. They don't understand the meaning of subtlety. It's called the Thunderdome, brother. Let's open every single show with Thunderdome. I wouldn't actually be surprised if, not that I'm going to tune in to find out, they're like open WWE main event with Thunder, you know? Just because it's the Thunderdome. Get it?
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Anyway, draft 3. Immediately, Stephanie McMahon explains that Lars will be drafted on Raw. So he's made his return. And then the actual picks is Raw. Ricochet is staying on Raw.
What a
Jey
shit
Uso
pick.
is Jey Uso is staying on SmackDown. Mandy is staying on Raw. Raw and Dominic are moving to SmackDown. Miz and Morrison are moving to Raw. So, like you said, Ricochet and Hurt Business, Uso and Roman Reigns, like all the stories are just following each other around.
And the Mysterios come back to visit Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And the Miz and John Morrison are just jobbers to Lars now. So they've been jobbers to people for quite a while. So it doesn't really matter where they're at, to be honest.
Well, after their performance on Raw, can you fuck them? I don't even want to see them on TV. Like,
yeah, dude. That stuff has gone downhill. I remember when they did the music video, and they're actually pretty entertaining.
No, even back then it was horrible to watch. When it was against Braun, right? And then that's when they first started like doing the stupid song.
They were in that van.
Yeah. But that is part of the whole problem of WWE for me at the moment. They are half the reason I switched off to this shit.
Well, I think they represent that brand of PG humor that we've seen so much of over the decades. We saw so much of it that actually another promotion got funded by a millionaire, you know?
Yep. Yeah, because it's not individually their fault, because John Morrison, we've seen in other promotions do fantastic stuff, and we all know that Miz can do great stuff if he's given the right material. So
I think they're both great.
Like you said, it's just the cartoony, cheesy bullshit that they've been given is half the problem. I just can't stay with WWE for more than 6 months.
Yeah.
So after this, we get Banks versus Bayley in a women's championship match. Again, it feels like they're meant to have this big night feel. They're putting all their best foot forward to try and cash in on all the extra fans that are watching. SmackDown, I think, did that pretty well, and then Raw lost all of the new viewers that they gained on SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm nitpicking SmackDown at the moment, and I will continue to do so in a second, but this was an enjoyable show with a sort of fast-paced main event feel to it, where it wasn't a chore to watch. I sat and watched this, and I breezed through it in an hour and a half, and I enjoyed myself. Raw was a car crash, but a really slow one. Like, if you had slowed a car crash down to about times 10, and then just watched it on YouTube in the dark for about 2.5 hours, that was Raw. But I have a problem with Bayley versus Sasha Banks. Can somebody please explain to me why this... I know they did the bullshit finish, and it only lasted 3 minutes. But this feud and this teasing went on for so long. It went on for like 6 months past anybody expected to. And then everybody started rubbing their hands and say, wow, they're actually making this one go long term. And I thought, like, I would have liked to have seen it at WrestleMania, sure, but I would have thought that at least they would have saved the first interaction for Survivor Series. And I know that this was like really short with a DQ chair shot to further the feud and stuff. But you didn't need it. Like, everybody is already invested in this feud. You didn't need an official ring time bell to do this angle, and like it didn't even add anything. Like all it did was take away sort of like a spark of interest from their official final match meeting. I didn't get this.
But the problem is, where do they even go from here? Like, they faced each other off in the ring now, so you've ruined the allure of them eventually having a big match.
Exactly. That's the point I was trying to make. And they're having a match at Hell in a Cell. This is the blow off. Hell in a Cell, the B pay-per-view.
Ugh. Well, I thought this was the blow. For a second here, I thought, they're doing the draft. They know that they've got extra eyes on them. That this was the blow off. I was like, come.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the two were great. There's no discounting their ability. Whatever they are given, they are fantastic at it, and they always will be.
We say it every time. It's not the players that are the problem. It's who is ever writing this bullshit.
Yeah.
Then did something happen, or did we immediately go into the next tag match?
They had a little recap of Alexa Bliss becoming the Harley Quinn to Bray Wyatt's the Joker.
Okay. Then we're into Cesaro and Shinsuke versus New Day. Which was, like we mentioned briefly a minute ago, this was a fantastic match for Kofi and Xavier. They looked so great. And this whole match, all four guys just kept it at 100 for like over 10 minutes.
Yeah, I was actually really happy when they announced on the Raw draft that Shinsuke and Cesaro would be staying together, because I've had a soft spot for Shinsuke for years and years. And it's quite clear that he's on his retirement fund. Like, he doesn't care. And him being paired up with Cesaro, despite him being a caretaker champion, is the most effort I've seen him put in and the most interesting he's been for ages. And these four guys just gelled together. It's kind of a shame that they won't be facing again.
They will eventually, once the draft falls to pieces.
I also like the fact that they actually called back to Cesaro and Nakamura winning it from the New Day for once, like actually acknowledging history. But yeah, no, this was a good TV match with a pretty decent ending. I liked it. I hope Nakamura continues to have some sort of momentum in his own head, Like, so I hope he bothers.
Yeah. Him and Cesaro really are a good fit. Like, it's weird on paper, but it works.
It's weird how Cesaro is the tag team guy. He's had great teams with, who was it, Sheamus? Oh, my mind's gone blank. Is
he the tag team guy, or is he just so good at what he does that no matter who they pair him with, he makes it work?
Yeah, I mean, Sheamus, what was it? Sheamus, Jack Swagger, Tyson Kidd, all of those teams have been successful. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is just him rolling with it, whatever he's given. He couldn't make that faux James Bond look work, though. Glad they got rid of that.
Yeah, that was a weird moment. All right, so we're on to the draft part 4.
Just wanted to add there that I thought neither Xavier Woods or Kofi Kingston had like an ounce of ring rust on them. They both looked great, like they'd been wrestling all this time.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic debut. And then that debut was really for this moment in the draft, where Raw pick up Xavier and Kofi, and then Xavier goes crazy, yelling at Stephanie to say Big E as well. And then she does, but he is staying on SmackDown. We've already gone over that.
We've already gone over it. I mean, Big E, I don't think he faked that acting. Like, he actually looked so morose. And on that Talking Smack talk show, Charlie Caruso is talking to the New Day, and she asks Kofi and Xavier about the fact that they're SmackDown Tag Team Champions going to Raw. And before Xavier and Kofi can say anything, Big E just looks at her and he's like, "You've been around here for a while, Charlie. Like, you know that logic doesn't exist here." I just thought that was kind of like a I'm not sure he actually did get told.
So is Talking Smack like it used to be when Daniel Bryan was on it, where they're not really scripted, so they can kind of just get away with saying whatever they want?
Yeah, it feels like that. I mean, I literally just watched them for this week's show. I'm never planning on watching them ever again. But it seems like a more sort of casual conversation and just them sort of not breaking character completely, but just calming down a little bit and being more soapbox sort of thing.
I feel like that's another one those products that Vince doesn't watch, so they can kind of get away with saying stuff.
100% with what AJ said on the Raw one and what Big E said on the SmackDown one. There is no way that that's anything other than filler content that doesn't even get passed through like Bruce Pritchard. That's just immediately thrown up.
Okay. So Dana Brooke moves to Raw, Otis stays on SmackDown, and Angel Garza stays on Raw.
Yep.
So then we're backstage with Otis, and he's going to court with The Miz over the briefcase.
I have no idea what this was about. I was hoping that you could fill me in.
I heard something about this story, and...
So Miz is the reason that Mandy Rose moved to Raw. Like, he apparently talked to some executives and got her moved to Raw. And he's trying to take the contract from Otis, but now they've involved, like, lawyers and shit. I have no idea. I didn't care.
Okay, that's fine.
All I know about Otis is that, and these are just, again, dirt sheets, who have been saying that Vince really deeply regrets his decision to put the Money in the Bank on Otis, and you should expect him to have it taken away from him within the next couple of months.
Yeah, well, they've not really given him the platform to go on to be a main eventer, have they? They've
not done anything. I stopped watching it after you did. He hasn't done anything, as far as I'm aware, really, for 5-6 months.
But their plan was for him to drop it to The Miz? Like, The Miz doesn't deserve it either.
I really hope that they do find somebody else to give that to. Like, Vince seems massive into Angel Garza. He seems like the sort of guy that would profit from this more than Otis.
Maybe Big E.
Well, yeah, Big E. Big E's a good shout. They need to do something with it anyway.
So Sasha has a fiery promo on Bayley backstage. That's that. And then we get Fiend versus Kevin Owens in our main event.
Fiend's light show in the Thunderdome is still very impressive, but I'm not sure which entity of Bray Wyatt signs off on this shit. Like his lights and his toy belt with his face on it. Who makes those decisions?
What, you mean the Fiend or Bray?
Yeah, because neither of them seem like they can sign contracts and handle like production meetings about championship belts and light shows.
Maybe there's a higher power. Maybe he needs a manager.
Ministry Part 2?
Yeah, here we go. We get so many people involved. Can you imagine like Paul Heyman as a modern day Paul Bearer?
Yeah, I think there's some... Genuinely, we said this, but I think that there is a market there for a new sort of dark clan. And if they called it a slightly different name, had the higher power, then had Old Man Taker come out as like the head, I think that would be a great storyline. It gives Taker something to do because he doesn't want to be... He just refuses to step out the limelight. But he wouldn't have to wrestle. And you can get like young guys who would feed off the rub from working with him, I think it's a good idea.
I can't imagine Taker and Fiend being on the same team.
I was thinking more of like Aleister Black, Dexter Lumis, guys like that.
What about those guys versus the Fiend?
That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be more fun. Like to see who's more darker and edgier.
This was the first Kevin Owens match I've enjoyed for, I don't even remember really. Like he had a decent match at WrestleMania, but this is the most I've enjoyed him as a character for a very, very long time.
Yeah, this was a really fun match. It was way more than I was expecting as well.
It was a nice fast pace with a lot of urgency, exactly as the Fiend matches should feel, and they rarely ever feel like this. They usually feel long, worn out, and drawn out.
Yeah, and the Fiend looked undestructible, man. Like Kevin Owens did some like pretty rough stuff to him.
Yeah, I thought that this was the best that the Fiend has looked since his match with Daniel Bryan, and it's quite clear here that the linking part of that is Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan being great workers. It's crazy to me, the Fiend, really, because he's been involved in so much shit. With Braun and Goldberg, and like they've really put him through the task over the past year. I don't know whether you agree with me, but I still think he's got momentum. He's got interest.
Oh yeah, definitely. And now with the Alexa Bliss stuff, like I think other than Roman Reigns, this is like the best thing going for WWE.
You like the Alexa stuff as well?
No, I'm not saying that I like it. I haven't actually seen much of it to have an opinion, but I'm just saying like they're definitely freshening up the Fiend and they're really experimenting with this story.
Yeah. And I mean, who knew that this would The Fiend would still be on top and still be interesting a year later. We thought this would be like a 6-month and done. Maybe it's Bray Wyatt himself, but they're managing to find new ways to make that character invigorating. And personally, I actually quite like the Fiend Alexa Bliss thing. I don't love it, but it's not anywhere near the worst idea they could currently have with either of those two being involved together.
I don't hate it, and from the limited stuff I've seen of Alexa Bliss, she's making it work.
Yeah.
I didn't really see much of her transition into the character, but now we're there. Like, I like her doing it. So
yeah, I was really sent home happy with this main event. It was a fast-paced, fun sprint with some brutal shots, and I really liked it personally.
Yeah, I mean, this was a decent SmackDown. It was an average wrestling show. There was nothing really offensive about it. Yeah, it was fine.
Yes, it's an average wrestling show, but with WWE, you got to take your wins where you can get them. This was an average wrestling show, but an above average SmackDown.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Like, we can't just say, "Oh, well done, WWE. You're usually useless." Like, this draft had so many more viewers, and like all the wrestling world really turned their attention to it. When Impact,
they had a little look. I wouldn't say they turned their attention to it for 2 hours, but I think more people than usual gave them a chance this week to have a look. I mean, we're doing it for a podcast. So,
but my point being is when Impact knows that they've got more viewers than usual, they really harness that, and they go balls to the walls to try and make new fans, where I don't feel like SmackDown did that.
I think it's just it's almost tiring to talk about now, isn't it? Like it's like you've been in a long drawn out relationship and you just can't be bothered to argue anymore, because we all know what's going on. We say it every single week. It's the reason that we stop watching. There's like an inherent rot deep in the system, which is just not going to go away. So I completely agree with you that the Impact, AEW take the opportunities that they have. WWE just don't think like that. They say, oh, we're getting more viewers, that's great. And it seems like a captain going down with his ship, because I'm not one for ratings, but if you compare 5 million 5 years ago to 1.7 million now on the same network, USA Network can't be happy with that. You know,
no.
How long are they going to live in this bubble where they're blind to the fact that they're declining in popularity before they really actually have to finally do something about it? Because we've been talking about it for half a decade now.
So with that in mind, let's jump over to the flagship show.
What a transition.
Before we talk about it, we got to say that this show made us both so depressed, we decided not even to podcast on our usual day.
Yeah. I also watched this show we were all prepped last night to go do it, and we both texted each other saying we would rather be doing anything else, which is why we're forcing ourselves through it today. But I watched this show in 3 parts.
I managed to get through it in 2 parts.
I must correct you though, Ben. I don't think this is seen as the flagship show anymore, because SmackDown's on Fox. I think SmackDown is now the new Raw, which is really, really strange thing to get your head around.
Yeah, I know they see it like that, but obviously as an old timer fan now, I guess.
You know what? I watched the start of Raw after coming off the end of SmackDown, and I'm so naive. One of the first things I wrote is there does seem to be more energy to the production of these shows than before Payback. How little I knew.
Oh my god. You just wait 45 minutes.
Just wait 10.
So I like that they opened the show saying the full set of the draft rules are available at WWE.com. You think anyone actually on purpose looked that up?
Oh, I forgot to quickly the supplemental SmackDown draft for anybody that cares. Humberto Carrillo to Raw, Murphy to SmackDown, Drew Gulak to Raw, Kalisto to SmackDown, and Tucker to Raw. So
Tucker to Raw. They split Tucker and Otis up.
Yes, I assume from this Tucker's going to go straight into Raw Underground if it's still a thing.
I don't think it's a thing anymore, man.
I did find it interesting that in these draft picks they treated a few Raw Underground people as actual contracted superstars now.
Yeah, which isn't that the whole point, that they were street fighters?
Yeah.
I mean, the same argument you could have for Retribution, I suppose.
But I mean, the only person I care about there is Drew Gulak, and I just feel like he's going to be even more lost in the shuffle in Raw. But there we go.
He already has been for a while, though, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's just gotten lost.
So Todd Phillips says he's hyping up Hell in a Cell, and he says sadistic Hell in a Cell. Is sadistic the tagline for this pay-per-view? I mean, it's just one word. It's okay. So we haven't got one yet, then.
No.
We will do.
The horror show at Extreme Rules, or whatever it was.
Or the greatest match ever, or... Oh, I've forgotten the other ones.
No, they seem to have calmed down with that stuff. Maybe they think they're actually delivering a good product.
Okay. So we open up with a Randy promo, and did you actually enjoy this? Because I know you love Randy.
I didn't, and...
This was dreadful, man.
I didn't watch Raw last week. I didn't watch Raw for the past 2 months, but... They opened up by informing me that Randy Orton pinned McIntyre in a multi-man match last week on Raw, which just typical WWE booking of making the champion lose a pin on TV before a pay-per-view to try and make us believe that the heel's going to win. This was Drew was one of the few guys that felt so massive and so big time he just wasn't losing. And they say over and over again, Drew was unbeaten for nearly a year. Why have Randy Orton pin him in a 6-man as a throwaway? And this, honestly, as you said, I love Randy Orton. I like Drew McIntyre. This promo stank, bro. When was the last time you heard of a Hell in a Cell match being sold by one guy stating to the other guy that he was going to pin him? Nothing was mentioned about the Hell in a Cell. Nothing to do with the structure. Nobody said that they. I
didn't even realize that these could in a Hell in a Cell. I just assumed they were just having a singles match.
Yep, that's because that's how they've sold it. Randy Orton looks in the eye and says, "I'm gonna pin you."
Damn. We always joke that Randy's great if he cares about the story. I really feel like he's given up again.
I don't really blame him. This feud has been going since SummerSlam.
But before that, we said like it was the best Randy of maybe his entire career, and now
he was on fire.
And now it's like he's switched off again.
I feel like Randy Orton is kind of like somebody that's got ADHD. Like he continually needs to be given things that he thinks are worth his time, and he needs to be swapped up fresh with new opponents, new people to work with, because otherwise he just turns into this. And I mean, this is the most half-assed main event I can remember for a very long time. There was it reeked of desperation, even down to right at the end of the show. I think it was Todd Phillips just screaming, "I have to see this match." Like they never say that because they assume that somebody usually wants to see it, but they are in this feud. I think they've become self-aware that nobody cares.
Yep. Drew McIntyre said that I'm going to beat you up all Raw long, every single Raw. They brawl for a little bit, and then we don't see them again until 3 hours later, where they start brawling again. At that point, I had completely forgot they were even doing this.
Yeah, same. So did I. And it's just like the most bang average brawls as well, isn't it? Like it's just, I had images of Viscera going around just pretending to beat people up. It was just boring.
Yeah, and then when it becomes boring, you become self-aware that you're watching people fake hit each other. Yeah. So let's get on to the draft.
Start.
Draft pick 1. The Fiend has moved to Raw.
Yes.
Bailey is staying on SmackDown. Randy Orton is staying on Raw, because of course he is. So is Drew McIntyre. And then the Street Profits are moving to SmackDown, and Charlotte Flair will be returning to Raw when she's off injury. So the craziest one is the Street Profits, right? Because now we found out that both teams are on the wrong brand. And later on the show, they'll just do a straight swap of their belts.
Yeah, I had less issue with the belt swapping than pretty much everybody else on the internet did. Only because they obviously wanted to keep both championships going. Like, as much as I agree with everybody saying they should have done a unification match, they obviously want a Raw tag team belt, and they obviously want a SmackDown tag team belt. And I also don't think Street Profits and New Day would necessarily even sell. They're two very, very likable teams that everybody enjoys. So I feel like there was more of a rub going on there by New Day and Street Profits teaming up, and New Day sort of saying, hey, look, these guys are great. You know, I didn't have a problem with it personally.
I don't have a problem with what they did. It's just how they did it. It was just so dull and like, oh, surely we could have found a more interesting way of doing it. I do
agree. I've definitely seen enough of Adam Pearce as well. I don't know whether he's like the new GM.
He is like the unofficial GM. They don't want to say that they've got a GM, you know, but like sometimes they need you need to have a manager because someone must be managing this shit.
I know that he was like a Ring of Honor World Champion or something, but I ain't seen any charisma from this guy.
Yeah, well, no, I don't know. Why would people want a unification? Like, of course they're going to have two separate tag champs. That doesn't make any sense. I just think they could have, first of all, maybe just not had done that, kept the champions on the same brand, or
given
something interesting with it. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Given the Raw draft against the SmackDown ones, I really feel like Randy Orton should be careful right now, because otherwise I just feel like he's going to be like given all of the shit. You know, he's going to have a Fiend feud, he's going to have a Strowman feud, and before you know it, Randy's eyes are dead again. You just, you know, I think I would have moved Randy to SmackDown, freshen it up a bit, personally.
Yeah, it would have been interesting, I think, to not have the stories follow each other.
At the same time, I think it's about time the Fiend came to Raw and did something.
Sure. Then we've got Kevin Owens again back on the TV in a no DQ match against Aleister Black.
Kevin Owens once again came out with fire and seems to be having like a really good week. I don't know what's happened to Kevin Owens. I didn't enjoy this match as I wanted to because I'm a massive Aleister Black fan. While I thought he looked good here, I just thought the match was slow. And it's getting very dangerous to me because Aleister Black, since they took away the music, since they took away everything, is in the same position as Matt Riddle right now, where he's still interesting. People are still invested in him, but he's starting to come off a little bit as another WWE guy.
Yeah.
Which is not good. When you get somebody like Matt Riddle or Aleister Black that people instinctively connect with, who have like a natural charisma, the worst thing you can possibly do is make them feel like everybody else, which is what they feel like they're doing with Aleister Black. Aleister Black was treated like shit on this show. I
think he's just stuck deep in that mid card now, and he'll forever be there.
Well, spoilers for you, mate. Aleister Black got drafted in round 6 with Titus O'Neil, Carmella, Peyton Royce, and Tozawa.
Yeah, it's not a good sign, is it?
That's really going forward. Not a good sign.
Got drafted. There's a few people that didn't even get drafted.
That's true.
Oh, what's his fucking stupid name now? Chad Gable.
Oh, Shorty G.
Yeah, that's his stupid name. Yeah, he didn't even. I don't know if he got on the Talking Raw or whatever.
He was not on the supplemental draft either.
Yeah, not at all. And so same for Andrade.
I guess he's a free agent.
So he's less important than Titus O'Neil, is what you're telling me.
I think when you don't even get drafted on the internet, you are seeing the impact signs.
Impact of giving you a phone call. Yeah.
Yeah. They literally probably watch the show religiously, the draft show, and list down everybody that's not mentioned and then give them a call. I can see him doing that.
Sure, why not? Draft pick round 2. Braun is moving to Raw. Daniel Bryan is moving to SmackDown. Matt Riddle is moving to Raw. Kevin Owens is moving to SmackDown. Jeff Hardy is staying on Raw.
Again, just loads of SmackDown people move to Raw.
Yeah, and vice versa.
What's the point of this?
Just feels like, you've just done a straight swap, really, apart from the champions.
It really feels like people are moving over en masse from one to the other. I don't understand it at all. Like, you're giving Raw to SmackDown and SmackDown to Raw, so the only thing that's changing is 45 minutes duration.
The biggest disappointment is, apart from Lars Sullivan, but we saw no NXT call-ups. We saw no real surprising returns. I suppose Charlotte. A lot of people didn't expect Charlotte to be drafted.
I enjoyed seeing Elias later on in the show. although that had its own issues. But yeah, I mean, it would have just been nice to see some of these people. I really miss Daniel Bryan. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I assume he's shielding at the moment because he's just had a baby, but like, it would have been nice to have a Skype call with him or something, you know? Just to make people remember he exists.
Or send a camera crew to his house, you know, and just do something in his garden.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. So here we go. This is the fun part of Raw.
This is when I stopped.
Miz and Morrison just deliver a horrible promo. Just so bad.
So bad.
Mandy and Dana Brooke come out. I didn't even know they were a tag team.
Dressed like Spice Girls.
Are they together because they're blonde? Because I can't think of any other reason these two would be paired.
I have no idea, bro. Like, I think they've been teaming together for about 3 weeks. They both look like, I don't know, 90s bimbos, I guess, to Vince. So that's what they're doing. This is a big step down for Mandy Rose, who was gaining momentum and gaining ability when she was facing Sonya Deville a couple months ago. I was very impressed by her.
Freaking match, she was dreadful, man. She was like the weakest. So Natalya and Lana come out, and Miz and Morrison set up a tag team match. And of those 4 women, Mandy is the weakest person in the ring, and it was so obvious.
It was the shits. This whole thing was the shits. And like, Lana is so bizarre at this point. Like, she's got a gimmick where they're the boats instead of the goats, and she keeps saying, "I have the winningest of all times." Like, is this even a gimmick? I don't understand it at all. I do not get this at all. This was the shits. And then we cut to advert break, and I'm like, oh, okay. I guess that's over and done with. We come back from break, and Miz and Morrison are still here, and the Miz introduces guest John Morrison. Oh my god, this was embarrassing.
Double bill promo there for you.
I pressed pause, and I went and watched something else.
Fair enough. I didn't. I sat through it. Lars Sullivan attacks them.
It's the freak!
I never thought I'd be so excited to see Lars Sullivan.
God damn it.
And he just fucks up John Morrison, and the Miz runs away.
I assume he messed up John Morrison because he missed him on SmackDown. I assume that's the only reason. John Morrison was the only one that got away without hiding. So Lars was like, I have to finish him off.
Right. And the Miz attempts for a second there to try and save his partner, but then thinks better of it and just ducks out of the ring.
They should be a little bit careful with Lars Sullivan. The amount of times that they're shouting freak, him just randomly beating people up. Like, I've only seen him for 2 shows, and yes, I am very aware that Lars Sullivan is back now. You know, I think you have to do something with him now, because he's already established. You can't do that thing where he's just going to beat people up for no reason, or like, I assume they're going to do the same thing with Miz and Morrison as Miz and Morrison did with Braun, which we've already seen this year. It's just, it immediately feels that whatever comes next is dull.
That would be the exact same thing, but just a different big guy.
Yeah.
That's
what's happening.
That would immediately make Lars Sullivan a cheap Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
I thought they were building up to have Lars Sullivan versus Braun. Like, that's what I would have assumed they would do.
Maybe.
But they're on different brands, right? They weren't even on the same brand, so they can't even do that.
I'm pretty sure they're both drafted to Raw, aren't they?
Lars Sullivan's on SmackDown.
Oh, well, there you go then.
So after this is when they swap over the belts. Then Bobby Roode is pissed. That sets up a match later. Then the draft round 3. All of Retribution is on Raw.
There is no way WWE can get away with this. Even after saying, oh yeah, we gave Retribution contracts. This is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. Like, this has made Retribution deader in the water than they were before, which was dead.
Yeah.
Just, like, ridiculous, bro. Are they ever going to give these guys a chance? Like, it was bad enough when they said, oh, we've given them contracts. It's just like WWE trolling people that are trying to, like, hurt them. You know, the whole thing of Retribution is they're taking over WWE and they're breaking it down. And Vince is like, oh yeah, okay, pal, we'll give you contracts, lol. You know? And yeah, Retribution are just standing there like teenagers thinking, oh, our big, like, teenage angst didn't pay off.
Now, if that was the actual story, had Shane come out and done that, that would have actually been a really interesting dynamic.
To me, like with everything in WWE, there are simple, logical steps that you can take that they don't. Ali last week was seen as the new face of Retribution, right? That was the big come out, whatever. Ali's a contracted WWE superstar. So they could have drafted Ali, and then they could have done a little bit about how they can't fire Ali at the moment because he's deep in his contract. So they have to draft him, but they can't control Retribution. They're not being drafted. They don't have contracts. But obviously, if Ali's the leader, they're probably going to be sticking around Raw. You know, that's simple. It would have taken Todd Phillips about half a minute to just sort out.
True. They could have explained that away. Really, the problem is they should have all been called up from NXT first and then started the stable, and then everyone be like, oh, okay, that makes sense, instead of them being given a contract after they've already done so many millions of dollars worth of damage, supposedly.
100%. And like, I don't even understand why some of these guys are pissed off. Maya Yim was in the NXT main events pretty much for her entire duration. Her boyfriend's in the main event at the moment. It doesn't make any sense.
Dominic Dijakovic had like 2 or 3 5-star matches with Keith Lee. Yeah, like they weren't exactly jobbing him, were they?
No, it's just stupid. Like, if you're gonna do it, if you have to do it, just draft Ali and explain that you have no control over Retribution. If you really want to carry this on, I think it should be quietly buried, to be honest.
Yeah, it failed from day one, really, hasn't it? Okay, so the rest of this draft pool, Lars Sullivan is on SmackDown, Keith Lee on Raw, Baron King on SmackDown, and Alexa on Raw.
One thing I took away from this was I was actually very disappointed by King Corbin being drafted to SmackDown. I think out of everybody on the entire roster, he's the one that would have highly benefited from swapping brands for a while, because he's gotten super stale. His gimmick is stale. He doesn't have anybody to face of interest. I think Baron Corbin was the one guy in this company that really needed to change, have like a little bit of a reset to his character, maybe try something different, face some other guys. But
we didn't even see him over these 2 shows.
No. So I don't even know what he's doing at the moment, really.
Well, he got higher drafted than Aleister Black, though.
By 3 rounds, dude.
Yeah, so
I just think King Corbin really desperately needs a reset at this moment, and this was the ideal time to do it, you know.
Right, so this is when all logic is out the window. Seth Rollins has already been drafted to SmackDown, but he comes out, has a promo, and then has a match. So
Jeff Hardy comes out. I did like the little bit of spontaneous. It felt a little bit spontaneous of what we were saying a couple of weeks ago, where it feels like no one knows each other. I liked Rollins interacting with AJ and those two interacting with Jeff Hardy. Just a little bit of interconnectivity there. But yeah, I agree with you in terms of logic. This didn't make any sense either. I did enjoy the fact that Jeff Hardy demanded for a triple threat tag team match.
Yeah, I heard that too, and I was like, wait, are they all in tag teams? Like, no, they're not.
How did he manage to mess that up? Was he just like daydreaming of the good old days with Matt?
He just thought Matt was going to come out and help him.
Yeah, so that was a thing.
This was actually, I enjoyed this match, but I just got a thing for triple threats. I love them, so.
It didn't exceed my expectations with the amount of talent in the ring, because.
True, I'll give you that.
This is kind of a dream match, isn't it? AJ, Rollins, Hardy. I just feel like, again, like they just throw stuff away, and it was just a normal TV match. It was good for what it was, because obviously when you've got that level of talent going against each other, you're not going to have a bad match.
In another world, this match would be good enough to main event like a SummerSlam.
Definitely. And it just felt fresh for once.
Yeah, so and then after the match or during the match, Elias attacks Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, so Elias turns up and smashes a guitar over Hardy, which allows for AJ to pick up the win.
Right, sure.
I'm happy to see Elias back. He has a backstage promo later where he explains his actions. But this is just stupid, man. Just stupid. Why not just, if you really have to, why not put him with Sheamus? Like, they had literally just turned him face. Did Elias not read the news or watch the show of his product while he was away? Sheamus, ran him over.
Yeah.
And like the promo later, he says he blames Hardy for running him over, despite the fact that every other person assumes it's Sheamus who got away with it. This is so dumb.
Yeah, well, he says
from this promo, we're reminded that Sheamus attempted murder, Hardy is a drunk, and Elias is a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it wasn't a story they really needed to bring back. Like, we'd all forgotten about it, and that was a good thing.
Elias is one of those guys that feeds off the crowd. He needs the crowd more than most, and I don't feel like they know really what to do with him. Around Mania time, when he was facing Corbin, he was coming across as very likable, and he'd only been face for like a month. I just don't really understand why you come back and turn him heel again. It's not like he can perform a concert to people in a crowd.
Well, he's performing a concert next week.
This is the perfect time to turn Elias face for a little while and try it out, because you're not going to get any crowd feedback, which is what the entire Elias character thrives off.
And then in draft picks round 4, Elias is the top pick going to Raw. How convenient.
There you go.
That was immediately after.
Who even knew that Elias was coming back tonight? Obviously the people that make the rounds.
Yeah, the USA Network did. Sami Zayn to SmackDown. So the champion, he's the last champion to be picked, right?
Yep.
Like, so low down. Like, no respect for Sami.
I still don't really understand why Bayley was... I know she was round 1 of Raw, but why was Bayley the Bayley and Sami Zayn the only champions to be picked on the Raw show? Once you start looking at the rules, they don't make any sense whatsoever.
And the tag team. Street Profits as well.
Yeah, whatever. This was very boring standard picks. I got no comment about it.
I didn't really understand why the roster was separated into 2 individual shows anyway. Why do they not all just get drafted at the same time?
Well, you know what? It would be really helpful if you had a 3-hour show in order to just get it all out of the way, don't you think?
I think it. Yeah, but it'd be a bore if it was just all on one show.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you just skip Titus O'Neil being drafted to Raw and put some more value in.
What? I don't know. Stop thinking logically. Fuck it. So Lacey Evans is on Raw, Cesaro and Shinsuke on SmackDown, and Sheamus on Raw.
Yep.
Then the women's tag team match, we already said, very sloppy and boring.
Very boring.
Then backstage, Hurt Business are just talking about Ricochet. He comes in and he challenges Cedric Alexander to a match. If he wins, they step off. If he loses, he will join them.
This was stupid. If you're the Hurt Business, who have the style pizzazz of a Black 4 Horsemen at this point, why would you does a 6-year-old at this point believe Ricochet is cool? He's just a loser, man. He looks like a loser, a complete chump, and he has done for a very long time. And I don't understand why. I don't understand why the Hurt Business would even want him in the fucking group. He's a loser.
What is the actual story? They're just bullying him, right? They don't want him to join. Not really.
No, that was the ludicrousness of the whole thing. Ricochet came in and said, if I win, we go our separate ways. If I lose, I'll join the Hurt Business. And MVP rubs his hands together and he's like, yeah, I totally accept that. Why would you want this guy who's on a losing streak, who doesn't like you, to join your group under duress that you think is lame anyway?
But he's on a losing streak to your own group.
Oh man, I didn't like this at all. They need to get Cedric away from Ricochet, because I hate to say it, man, but Cedric Alexander, every time he's near Ricochet, he's got that Ricochet stink just emanating.
And it's a real shame, because Ricochet he's cool. He's got such, his ring style is so different to anything anyone else does. He really could be a standout, but he's not. Not in WWE anyway.
I was really bored during their match, and I was like, did you see that little chain he was wearing around his neck?
Yeah.
So I was like thinking in my head, you give him a goatee, a Fanta Light, and you have like some Lego bricks dropping to the floor when his entrance theme hits. You got like the equivalent of Gilbert, but Steve Austin.
Okay. Sure.
I love the imagery of it. Just get him like dropping Lego bricks instead of glass. It'd make him interesting. It'd give him something to do.
Fair enough.
New Shark Boy.
I love Shark Boy.
Maybe one day you'll love Ricochet.
Maybe do love Ricochet. It's just he's not allowed to do what makes him good in WWE. His ring style is too watered down.
Rico Shoston.
Okay. What about Angel Garza versus Andrade?
2 minutes of absolutely nothing, mate. Hated it. Bullshit.
Zelina on commentary, and she's still rooting for Andrade, kind of. I was very confused. Couldn't tell whether she liked him or not.
I don't think she knows at this point. Both guys looked bad from this. I know that for like obviously Andrade is like pissed in Vince's coffee or something because he's just been getting jobbed out for months now. But Angel Garza looked bad as well, and like this feud has been going. How long has this feud been going on, man?
Since before Mania. Well, no, they were teams at Mania, weren't they? But they were split after Mania. They were splitting. So
I'm just bored of it. If this is the way that they want to build Angel Garza up as the next big thing, then they're doing an awful job of it. At the same time, I don't understand why you throw Andrade under the bus just because you have a new Mexican that you like.
So the commentary sold this as if this was the blow-off match. This was the final time,
I personally really liked Andrade when he was US champion. I thought he had a big future for him. Angel Garza's come along and obviously like charmed Vince and made him swoon. I like both of them. Why is there not enough room for both of these guys to coexist and neither of them to be a jobber?
I don't know. Or a team. I mean, you put them on separate brands and they can just do their own thing.
There you go. I think both could do really well. You don't have one job because they're both the same nationality.
Yeah. Okay, so so the lights go out. Alexa Bliss is in the ring, and then the Fiend is behind Andrade, and they attack him.
I enjoyed that.
Well, I thought this was going to be the start of like a new program, but Andrade's not even being drafted, so it seems like they don't really want to use him.
No, Andrade's a complete jobber at this point. There's no way that they would face him against the Fiend. So I say that not knowing what happens next week. I really hope that the Fiend doesn't get in a feud with Andrade. I really hope that's true.
I guess have they just done it just because it's just another like mixed tag team? Is it like the only mixed tag team right now that they can go against?
Yeah, I think this was purely...
Maybe it'll be a one and done match. Maybe it'll just be
purely created to show Alexa doing the finisher in tandem with the Fiend on a woman. That was what it's there for. Okay. Pretty cool stuff. I enjoyed it. I'm still enjoying this Alexa Fiend thing. I think it could have gone really, really badly, and I don't think it has done so far. So fingers crossed.
So far, we'll see what they could do. They need to do something important with it, I think. So draft round 5. Nikki Cross moves to Raw. Ziggler and Bobby Roode move to SmackDown. R-Truth stays on Raw. Again, the 24 title can be defended anywhere at any time. Apollo Crews moves to SmackDown, and Dabba-Kato is always been on Raw, possibly, or
he was on Raw Underground. He's never had a match on Raw.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. He was on Raw Underground, but now he's officially on Raw.
Yeah, so this is where they start bringing in the underground guys into actual contracts, I guess, and we'll be seeing them on normal programming because, as you said, I think Raw Underground's done.
Do you think we're going to see much of Dabba-Kato, or do you reckon he's just going to be a jobber?
It looked like they were into him, and then Braun squashed him. So I don't really know what they want to do with him now. Seemed a bit pointless.
Yeah.
I have this very horrible vision of Nikki Cross teaming up with Drew McIntyre because they're both Scottish
Oh, dude.
against The Fiend and Alexa.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Now you say it, it's like very obvious.
I mean, Randy will pick up the win at Hell in a Cell through interruption from The Fiend coming out and beating the shit out of Drew. Alexa's got unfinished business with Nikki. Before you know it, we have got Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans.
Oh God, can you remember that Frankenstein of a? Oh, okay.
That was the real shit, wasn't it?
Although
I walked past a toy shop in a local town the other day and saw Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins double pack action figures and actually cringed, remembering.
I think that's why that match happened, right? Just to sell some toys.
Well, yeah, the double pack's still being sold, so there you go. Obviously, they did their job.
Well, this time, at least Nikki Cross and Drew McIntyre are actual friends. That 24 documentary we watched, they both had a lot to say about, and have been working in the same companies and have somewhat of a friendship.
On.
So
You think Vince has watched that?
No. But my argument is Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin had probably only ever shared like 5 sentences of each other before that match.
Okay, but it's still something that I really do not want to see.
No, yeah, same. I'm completely with you.
Okay.
New Day, Kofi and Xavier versus Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode. It was in this match that they said that the New Day have lasted for 6 years, and I thought, really, for like a tag team that's the biggest, or a 3-man team that's so big and so popular, that's actually not a long time compared to some of the other best known stables in history.
Yeah, completely. And I feel like this is why I was saying earlier that they feel like the most over thing in WWE right now, because they have actually had that summit rise. Like if you look at Steve Austin's career, The Rock's career, Mick Foley's career in WWE, they're all short runs which went mental, you know? And I can't think of anybody else apart from the New Day that really have had that rocket strapped to their back and become such a massive idea.
So do you reckon they're going to have quite a lasting legacy? Or do you think...
I think so. I think all 3 of them are, at this point, if they'd never had to do anything again, they'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Wow, that's big.
This match was enjoyable. I actually quite like this. There was some good chain wrestling between Woods and Roode to start. Some great back and forth, some good heel fuckery. Like this was quite obviously 4 guys that were good at wrestling, you know.
Yeah, sure.
The only aside I have of this though is I watched this with interest once again for the New Day. Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler does nothing for me now.
Well, why are they even a team, dude? Like,
I have no idea.
Bobby Roode is wasted.
Ziggler, do you remember Ziggler had that little 1-month run with Drew McIntyre, and it was actually quite fun.
But the match was good. Yeah.
Bobby has had how have WWE managed to make somebody like Bobby Roode boring?
I don't know, because I think he might be one of the best NXT champions of all time.
He's one of the best TNA champions of all time.
Yeah, I was about to say that. He was. Definitely.
He's just like he's like one of those guys at this point when I'm watching a television program, I just kind of want to turn the screen off.
I heard James Storm is going to NXT now that NWA is probably over.
I feel like beer money is the only thing that could actually sort Bobby Roode out at this point.
I mean, I'm up for it.
Same.
If it becomes a thing.
I don't think I can fit into my t-shirt anymore.
But those are, yeah, it would be great if those 2 are on NXT together, I think.
Bobby Roode so desperately needs something right now. He came out, I think he re-debuted last week. To the fact that he's re-debuted last week and they put him back with Dolph Ziggler is just like the writing on the wall, surely, for him.
They just got nothing for him to do, and I don't know why. He's got the looks. They need to give him... Yeah, they need to give him back that glorious character he had in NXT, because people just ate that up.
Yeah, I remember that. It became like a meme for a while, like not a non-wrestling meme, like an actual normal people meme.
Yeah, it was huge. Just everyone screaming, a bit like Shinsuke. Everyone just screaming his theme song.
Shinsuke is more one of those guys. I know that's not the point you're making, but Shinsuke is one of those guys that I think self-created. Like he quite clearly sees WWE as retirement. He doesn't really care about making an impact. I don't get the same vibe from Bobby Roode. He just feels like he's been given nothing.
Yeah, Bobby Roode definitely wants to be on the run of his life, if he could be.
I kind of feel like Bobby's going to be one of those guys like Eric Young, you know. One day he'll either get fired or just won't sign his contract again. He'll immediately turn up back in Impact. You
think Impact or you think somewhere else?
Maybe you want to go to Japan for a little while.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I can't really see him in AEW because there's too many bodies in there.
Yeah, I think in Japan he'd have a lot of fun. He's definitely got the right kind of cocky American. Is he American or is he Canadian?
Canadian.
He's Canadian, isn't he? Yeah. So after this is when Elias explains his action backstage, and then we get Cedric Alexander versus Ricochet.
Bullshit.
Which we've already talked about as well.
I know it's Eddie Guerrero's birthday, but that finish was just ridiculous.
Is that why they did it?
Yeah,
because of Eddie Guerrero's birthday.
It didn't suit Ricochet whatsoever. He just looked like a dweeb again.
I actually got a note here that they've ripped off Eddie Guerrero so much that he must be fucking fuming if he's watching.
It was just a tribute.
But, yeah, right.
Why give that tribute to Ricochet?
I don't know.
Ricochet's got like severe go-away heat with me now. I don't like seeing him.
I actually didn't hate the ending as much as I think you did.
Dude, even my girlfriend thinks he's a loser. And she just like occasionally glances up.
The real problem I have was they showed the video before this match of Ali versus MVP and then Ali siding with Retribution. Yeah. And I was watching that video package and thinking, why would we give a fuck about Retribution turning on a heel stable? It's heel versus heel, right? So
throughout this whole period, though, it's been so weird. Like from me checking in every now and again, her business has been acting like the faces to Retribution. They were hired apparently by Adam Pearce to keep Retribution out. Like they were acted as enforcers, like the APA for keeping Retribution out. And there's one episode, I think it was the episode I stopped watching because I was just like, this is just ridiculous. I think it was Keith Lee versus Drew McIntyre, and Retribution surround them or something. Who comes out for the save? The Hurt Business.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, sure, they apparently are making money from Adam Pearce, but you've just made your faces look like losers and you've made your heels look like baby faces. I've given up the whole thing.
Are Retribution meant to be heel, or are they meant to be face, and it's just gone bad?
I genuinely have no idea.
Because it just seems like it's a heel on heel thing, and every time that happens, definitely with stables, that was literally the point with the Ministry. The whole thing fell apart because it was just heel versus heel for 6 months.
Yeah,
they're doing the same thing now.
Retribution has been a mess from the start. Like I don't feel like anybody knows what's going on. Like you've got T-Bone. I know you don't go on Twitter much. T-Bone, I think, is the leader. Dukajcevic. He's going to like continually doing their Twitter game is really weird, man. He's doing like a back and forth with Brian Alvarez. It's really strange. Like Alvarez puts up the ratings and then he like T-Bone comments and says T-Bone equals 1.8 million Raw ratings. He does it like every week. And they've kind of become like this. I don't know whether it feeds into their Raw character or not, but on Twitter they've got their own character where they're kind of like basement dwelling wrestling nerd fans who keep talking about the ratings and keep bothering Brian Alvarez.
But Alvarez rips them apart. He hates this story.
I ain't got much time for Alvarez, but I agree with him on this one.
But my point being, imagine if Retribution had fucked up New Day, like on New Day's return or whatever, and Ali sided with them during a match against New Day. How much more heat that would have given them.
I think Vince is bored at this point of Retribution. They never turn up on the big shows. They didn't turn up on Raw, SmackDown. They didn't turn up on SummerSlam or Payback. I think he's thrown them away like all the rest of his broken toys. And right. I think it would be best for everybody involved if they did a WWE sweep and just pretend this didn't exist and then reintroduce everyone, because this has got to be one of the worst things I've seen.
The real loser in this is Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, poor guy, man.
This would be like the 4th story that's failed for him.
And he's always great, and he's just always gets a bad break every
He's just
single
always,
time.
yeah, he's always in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like they keep squeezing him into these stories, and then they fail, and he gets dropped.
He was also such a good face, like with the whole former policeman thing. He was like a proper old school baby face, you know?
Because they never revealed the SmackDown hacker, did they?
I assume that they're just pretending now that was like the start of Retribution.
Right, that's linked to the okay.
But whatever. Yeah,
That's,
whatever.
Whatever. That's a bit too long-term booking for them, though. So
at this point, I'm so done, bro.
So then we get a advert of Keith Lee versus Braun Strowman next week, which is the first, well, not even the first because we have one on this show, but it's an intergender match on the first week of there being 2 new brand splits.
Inter-brand match, you mean?
Yeah. So inter-brand match.
Yeah, I mean, whatever, dude. You know, like at this point, I'm done. I'm done with it. No, this isn't inter-brand, is it? I swear Braun goes to Raw.
Oh, maybe it's a different match then. That's going to be inter-brand. But they already announced that there's going to be an inter-brand match.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I mean they've got the New Day on SmackDown as a farewell as well. So.
Right, draft round 6. You already said it. It's Titus O'Neil, Carmella. Oh yeah, Peyton Royce to Raw. Alistair Black to SmackDown, and Akara Tozawa to Raw. Where Peyton Royce's old partner? What's her name? She was not picked.
Billie Kay.
Yeah. I still don't understand why they split those two up. They were funny.
Apparently Vince sees big things in Peyton Royce and he doesn't see anything in Billie Kay.
They could have kept because she's skinnier.
Is that what you think it is?
Well, Vince thinks on those lines, doesn't he?
Yeah, I guess so. This just
I like them together. They were funny.
All I've got here is just fucking hell, man. Like this is just the shits. Not just because Alistair Black is a part of this, but the fact that you've got around in night announcing where Titus O'Neil is going. Like this is just, I stopped here again last night. That's where I was like, I'm done again, and then I had to watch the women's battle royal main event.
Yeah, the last 20 minutes didn't get any better, my friend. So Oscar is on commentary, and the winner of this is the number 1 contender for the Raw Women's Championship, but it's dual branded.
On the draft.
Branded
on the draft.
A SmackDown woman could become number 1 contender for Raw.
Do we not want to wait like 2 weeks, guys, before we just start doing this again?
Are we not even going to pretend that there's some rules?
This was, oh man. I was furious watching this. Like, don't get me wrong here,
what
man.
got you to furious? Was it Nia Jax on commentary on the microphone?
It felt like the longest 15 minutes I'd ever watched, and like after what it came before everything else. And don't get me wrong, this has got nothing to do with women, but a battle royal main event with Lana as the winner in such a poorly booked fashion as that was, with random intercuts of the Raw champion beating up Randy Orton.
That's the thing. Like, we didn't even see much of this match. They kept cutting away.
This was dreadful. This was really dreadful in every single way. Men or women, I do not think that you should be ending your main event on a battle royal.
Well, AEW always uses battle royals as the opener.
And this is the equivalent in the women's division of Santino Marella winning a Raw championship opportunity. And this is what you left the show with, basically.
So, really, we didn't get to see much of the match, to be honest. I think we saw like 3 spots, and that was it. Because we kept cutting away to something. And then at the final, they do the stupid thing that they do in every single battle royale now, which you can just see it coming now. So Lacey Evans and Natalya are on the apron fighting for it, and then Lana comes in to eliminate Natalya lastly, because we conveniently forgot about her. She wasn't actually eliminated. They do this every time.
But this time, This time they didn't even seem to actually make it a thing. Maybe they were trying to surprise us. I genuinely had no idea, like, not in a good way either. Let me just point out. I had no idea that Lana was in this match because they never mentioned it. They never talked about it. I just saw her get put through a table by Nia Jax. That was it.
I'm 100% sure now that Lana is going to go to AEW when her contract's up.
She's getting a Raw Championship opportunity.
After she got put through a table.
This is the 4th table she got put through in the last couple of weeks.
So can come on. And
if
now
this was to build somebody else up, then I like the idea of building new people up. But with all of the talent currently in the locker room, they pick Lana. Like, I can't even fathom what to say, really, unless this is just going to be a further humiliation. And you're right, and they're jobbing her out because of Rusev. I don't know, but
it's Lana versus Oscar. Like, how do you really think that match is going to go?
I just don't do not even understand why she's in that position, and why, if you're booking the Women's Battle Royal to be the main event of your draft Raw, you then book a joke winner.
Is it a joke, or do they sit because I mean, Lana was like one of the biggest stories last summer, wasn't she?
When was the last time you saw Lana wrestle?
She had a match against, who was in the Bobby Lashley story?
Rusev.
No. There was a woman that came in and they were
Liv
like...
Morgan was her ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, I think they had one match. Yeah.
Garbage fire, bro. Garbage fire.
Well, at least Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton were polite enough for the match to be over before they
had a shit brawl.
Yeah, spilled into ringside. Very conveniently timed. And then they just get pulled apart, and that's it. That's the end of the Raw. There you go.
What an awful show.
The last hour, especially, was just such a drag. It's like they knew nobody would be watching, so they just gave up writing it.
We agreed with this. I texted you the other day. The whole argument for the WWE fanboys, who because I know I come across as liking WWE more than AEW, which is not true. But objectively, I hate fanboys of both brands. This is mind-numbing. And as we agreed, I think that the defenders of WWE's product always say, yeah, but Hour 3 makes them so much money. They can take all of that money to the bank. But Hour 3, I think, will be the eventual final decline, downfall of WWE. They need to get rid of it. I don't care how much money it makes them.
I don't even think eventual. I think in the last year or two, it has been their decline.
Yeah.
And everyone knows it.
And
I think they know it, but they just don't. They don't care because they're making so much money.
But it's killing the product.
It is.
Raw and SmackDown at this point, I'm pretty sure, are both overseen by Bruce Pritchard, and both writers are working on the same thing. Everybody likes to say that Vince is in control of Raw and keeps changing the script, but he's doing that on SmackDown as well. They're both his babies. What is happening here is they've quite clearly proved that they can't write a 3-hour show every week. So they just need to get rid of it.
Yeah, they do. It's just a shame. I don't know if they're gonna. I think we both had the same ages ago that the 3rd hour should just be like a they show some classic old stuff, old 90s, old.
If they really need the 3rd hour, then that's fine. That's a good idea. But
just don't put anything current there that's just going to continue to bore, and I don't know. They're just obviously creatively in a slump with that 3rd hour. And
it's not like 3 hours is the death knell to the wrestling industry. You got to give Eric Bischoff his credit. In 1997, 98, people were tuning into all 3 hours of Nitro. People were interested. People wanted it. But obviously that 3-hour show was actually booked to a level where people wanted to see all 3 hours. This is a very, very different thing. And surely this should be a warning sign to everybody from the AEW side saying, oh, AEW needs a new television show. I'm not so sure.
I think in AEW it's just Dark that's going to be on TV, no?
If AEW's on Dark, and we've gone over this conversation loads of times, they need to completely change that. But
yeah, if it goes onto TV, it'd have to be better.
I would be looking at WWE's product right now and thinking, you know what? Let's just keep the Dynamite for a while.
Well, I don't think 2 shows are as a problem necessarily. I think it's just that a 3-hour Raw, because even if it's a good show, it's still a chore to watch 3 hours of one constant thing.
Especially when those 3 hours get progressively worse because it's all filler and they know that nobody cares in that middle bit.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm working full time, even a pay-per-view, I will probably watch in 2 sittings. I think I only watch a pay-per-view fully is if we watch it live, like together with a beer, and then we're not really properly concentrating anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think 3 hours is just a hard ask. You know,
Yep.
there's a reason. There's a reason Hollywood always makes a 2.5 hour movie.
But that was the thing, right? The thing was I mean, at least back in the day, we're excited about a 3 hour show because it happened once a month. That was a pay-per-view. That was interesting. It was important. 3 hours. Asking somebody to sit through 3 hours every single week and then saying, well, you now need to watch 2 hours on Friday as well. It's just ridiculous. There's no way that they're going to get any of their any demographic, I think, doing that. From people our age, not interested, not enough time in the day. Like, we're doing stuff. Kids will get bored, like way more bored than we will. They'll watch the first 20 minutes of the show, or they'll watch the highlights and just go do something else. Who are they appealing to?
Yeah, no kid under the age of like 15 is watching 3 hours of one program.
And I feel like that kid, if he's watching 3 hours of that program from like 15 to 16, he'll stop watching it at 17.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, who are they appealing to at this point? No one.
Do you reckon? Talked about it before. Do you reckon AEW will actually be a competitor within a year?
Not within the year. I think they'll be nearly there. I think everything is gonna hit off fast as soon as they get that game out. They should be focusing on that game so hard right now.
Yeah.
Because as soon as that's released, I think they'll see their numbers completely spike, and I feel like they might even start beating WWE very soon.
I mean, it's nowhere near the same league, but even TNA, when they released that game, that was a game changer.
Yeah, dude, like all of our friends from school used to play that with us.
Yeah,
TNA became a thing that they knew of, you know?
Yeah, and that's when this is kind of just after Hogan took over, and then they moved to Monday night because they thought they could compete with WWE.
Yep.
You're right, the video game is definitely a big piece of the puzzle.
I think they should definitely aim to try and get it out by next summer because they don't want to wait too long with it.
Well, from what little they've talked about it, it sounds like they're definitely pushing it to try and get it done as quick as possible.
Yep. As long as it's not pushing it to make it as quick as possible and it turning out like a WWE video game.
Well, that's the thing. That's why it's not released already, I imagine.
But then they've got all of the nerds at their hands. You know, Kenny Omega's a diehard. As we've said before, the people that win the gaming wars are the nerds.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if AEW releases a great video game, like, they've fucked WWE's business.
Completely. I mean, have you seen WWE's video game this year?
The one that was shit, or the one that they released in its place?
They've released one like a month ago that looks like Wii Avatar.
Yeah, that's because they can't get a 2K out this year, so they've released this. Was it Brawl or Smash or something?
Battlegrounds.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's it. It's meant to be a take on Nintendo Brawl.
Right.
Yeah, they rushed that out, which is just a take off. What was that Legends game that was really overly
Super Smash Bros?
No.
Oh, Legends of WrestleMania.
No, not that one. There was another one, and it was like Rock and Austin and Hogan, and it was really over characterized, and you like a super move it through a guy up in
I think I do remember that.
You remember that? Yeah, and that was actually kind of popular, but it was released side by side with Raw versus SmackDown, so it wasn't instead of. I think they just took the engine from that and then just put Roman Reigns and AJ's face on it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, break WWE's video game hold on the wrestling market, and you win, as far as I'm concerned. Because AEW's got the superior product. AEW's got just as it's got enough money to thrive and prosper. Literally, the only problem they're suffering with right now is getting eyes on the product. That would just completely destroy competition. So, yeah, that was fun, Ben.
Yeah, it was fun to talk about modern things with you again, but I'm not sure that the actual... No, Raw killed me last night.
While I enjoyed talking about normal television that everybody else is currently watching, or at least bitching about, there's no way that I could do Raw every week.
Man, it made me depressed. I don't think I could do that to myself every week.
Raw was like potentially going to be my re-jump on point because I watched WWE way more than you, and I had like 3 months off of it. After watching Raw, I don't think I will. I don't think I'm going to bother.
I think I'm going to go back to just watching the highlights on YouTube.
So we're going to go back to doing what we've done our entire life. We occasionally look at articles when we wake up in the morning and then go about our normal business.
Sure. Good plan.
That's
deal.
called being a wrestling fan in this decade, I think.
Okay, well that was a good one. So next week will be the final part of the horror season, right?
Yep.
We'll put up the movies which we've already recorded.
Well, we were supposed to do like this massive 21st century what's happened to the horror genre in wrestling, but I think we're both absolutely fucking bored of it now, right?
Yeah, we'll come back to that in a couple months' time, whatever. It's
cool.
Fine. Just forget about it.
So let's start thinking about what we want to do after the horror season.
WCW season.
Hey! I'm hyped for this, man.
You're gonna have to like show off some good shit to me. And try and convert
you need to watch the Eric Bischoff documentary.
Yeah.
And then we'll watch a really good WCW pay-per-view and maybe a really bad one.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it.
Cool.
All right, cool.
Nice, man.
Like, share, and subscribe to keep it botched up, brother.